Goal 11 of the Sustainable Development Goals is to make cities and human settlements inclusive, safe, resilient and sustainable. The world is becoming increasingly urbanised, with up to 70% of the world's population projected to live in cities by 2050. Powerhouses of economic growth are described by the UN, cities contribute to 60% of global GDP. They also account for 75% of global carbon emissions, clearly having a huge influence on global sustainability. Many people move to cities in search of employment and opportunities each year. However, due to urban areas already being overwhelmed with high-density populations and overcrowding, this often leads to increasing levels of unemployment and homelessness. Often slums develop as a result, with poor sanitation, high crime and little shelter. City services, including hospitals, schools and transport systems, tend to become overwhelmed. Cities also face a huge wealth divide. Many of the world's wealthiest people live in cities, however 24% of global urban populations still live in slums. This level of inequity prevents many cities from becoming sustainable. The speed at which COVID-19 has recently spread across the globe highlights the vulnerability of cities and deficiencies in urban structure. High-density urban populations and areas of overcrowding provide an ideal environment for spreading infectious diseases. This leads to a high rate of infection, putting tremendous pressure on healthcare systems. The effect of the pandemic on the global economy has been a main focus of media broadcasting since restrictions were first put in place. Cities lacking in a diversified economic structure have faced greater challenges, particularly those relying heavily on tourism, such as Cancun or Marrakesh. The environment seems to be one of the only aspects that the pandemic has had positive impacts on. Global air pollution levels have drastically decreased. Delhi's pollution levels have reduced by roughly 75% as a result of the drop in industrial and economic activity COVID has caused. The pandemic has provided an opportunity for governments to reconsider current systems in place and showcase their vulnerability. This is a chance for a shift to more sustainable practices in terms of energy generation, agriculture and industry.
We will look at some case studies. Norway became one of the richest countries in Europe when it found oil in the North Sea. Norway used this fortune to create one of the most efficient welfare systems in the world and became the first country to have a Ministry of Climate and Environment. As of today, Norway's electricity production is 97% renewable, and this is one way Norway have demonstrated their shift towards ethical investments. This is reflected in Norway's consumption habits as they lead the way in the ever-expanding electric car industry, with over a third of all new cars sold in Norway either hybrid or fully electric. This demonstrates how citizen participation is important. Singapore is another example of a country with world-leading sustainability efforts, and they have met a number of the sub-goals for SDG 11 already, including 11.1 as they have no slums, and 11.2 as almost 100% of the population lives within 500 metres of a public transport stop. Singapore has high ambitions to have 80% of its buildings to achieve the Green Mark certification by 2030. The Green Mark scheme serves as a benchmark for evaluating environmental sustainability in buildings across much of the tropics and subtropics. Singapore's Marina Bay Sands embodies this scheme and is one of Singapore's many notable structures. Its air conditioning is operated using water-cooled chillers, with the heat waste energy being used to provide the hotel's hot water. Even has giant digesters in the basement that can turn 2,500 kilos of daily food waste into recycled water for reuse. These green buildings aid Target 11.6, reducing the environmental impact of cities. Legislation in Singapore links to SDG 11 in many ways, and there are several rules against littering, graffiti, spitting, and even urinating anywhere but a toilet. Until recently, chewing gum was completely banned in the country, with fines of up to $100,000 or a jail term of 2 years for selling gum. The strict legislation and efficient frameworks means that 100% of total solid waste generated in Singapore is collected and managed in authorised facilities since before 2000.
Looking at sustainability on a more local scale, the port city of Southampton is currently finding ways to develop more sustainable practices. Southampton's rich port history provides a key route into the UK, supplying goods and industrial resources. This has brought employment opportunities and a stronghold of British trade. Southampton has been labelled as one of the most polluted cities in the UK, partly due to the high population density. This inherently brings challenges, such as traffic congestion and many forms of pollution. Local government authorities play a key role in reducing carbon emissions. Southampton City Council currently has many major projects, with 5 main goals listed under the Green City Charter, launched in 2019.
Firstly, to encourage the use of sustainable transport by improving cycle paths and bus lanes. with Southampton aiming to be in the top 10% UK cities for number of electric vehicle charging units by 2025. Secondly, to deliver clean air, with a goal to establish a wide-ranging clean air zone by 2023. Thirdly, to improve the natural environment, with 25 new urban wildflower areas introduced in the city and at least 5,000 new trees by 2025. Fourthly, waste and water management, with the aim to double waste recycling rates by 2030. Finally, energy and carbon reduction, with an aim for 90% of the council car fleet being electric by 2030. The University of Southampton is currently researching the effects and management techniques of air pollution. Other researchers at Southampton University have monitored Southampton's transport system. This approach has contributed to over £50 million being attracted to the Solent area for development of sustainable transport.